So, Lawrence On, welcome to the Happy Days podcast with me, Callum Church. Awesome to have you on here, man. It's been one I've been looking forward to actually quite a lot. So, to kick things off and introduce yourself to the audience, do you want to just talk a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. So my name's Lawrence. I'm 21 years old. I'm currently living in Amsterdam as a student here. I'm a TikToker. I talk a lot about productivity and self-improvement. And I've also founded a company with a couple of people who I'm working on with in behavioral science.
Yeah, it sounds interesting, man. You're certainly an interesting personality, and obviously we've spoken before. Um, and yeah, like I said at the start of the podcast, man, like I was just excited to get you on because I don't know. I feel like we've got a really interesting conversation to unpack here. We've got a cool little structure laid out for the episode, so it's going to be good. Um, to get things started properly, do you want to talk about your background a little bit for us, and just talk about sort of the elements of your past, both recent past or distant past, which have kind of made you the person you are today?
Mm. Yeah, sure, man. So where should I start? I'd probably say that like probably my recent past. So originally I'm from the UK in Leicestershire, but obviously I live in Amsterdam. So last year I made the decision to move here and to start university, which I thought was a great shift in environment for me, which was great. Uh, I think that I had probably started reading during the start of the pandemic as well, and that was also a massive change in my life. I think that's greatly impacted me. I mean, throughout my whole life, I've always been someone who is very kind of, I like to work outside the box and I like to kind of do things differently, even if sometimes that means in a little bit harder than it usually should
Hmm.
be.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I've been always a very like business oriented person. I've had a bunch of ridiculous ideas that have fallen through, like such as selling secondhand clothes. Like I opened a pancake shop in my bedroom once. Like all of these kind of weird business ventures that never worked out and came to fruition. But I mean, here I am. So some things worked.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, what was it that made you want to go ahead and study in Amsterdam? Was it the attraction of the university itself? Was it just the fact that it was a different environment? Because this is something which personally I'm thinking about at the moment. I'm thinking about trying to get out of my hometown,
Mm,
experience something
mm.
new, new experiences, new people, new places, and just try and find a little bit more discovery in my life, I suppose. So what was the original attraction there for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I was never someone who was dead set on university. And hence why I took 2 years off to really kind of figure out what I wanted.
Mm,
And I think what I found was that I was just ready to get away from home. I'd done a bit of traveling already, and I knew that I kind of didn't want to live in the UK. And so I thought of ways that I would be able to live in Europe, especially with Brexit going on,
mm,
and still kind of get the same energy of like, young people and like ideas and things that would complement like how I work already.
mm,
And so I thought, yeah, I'll look at university. I saw one of my friends mention something about like university colleges in Amsterdam, which is they allow you to kind of choose, like pick and choose like all your courses. So I thought that's nice. Like it's quite flexible. The Netherlands, they do pretty much all of their courses in English, and it's much cheaper than the UK. So I thought, I mean, I'll sign up. I'll see what happens. If I don't get in, then I guess that was the world telling me that the Netherlands wasn't for me. But then I got in, and then I thought, well, I give it a try, and here I am.
that's dope, man. That's dope, man. So have you seen yourself sort of like change as a person? What's changed in you personally in terms of like development and growth and stuff? Because when you're pushing yourself out your comfort zone like that, getting into discomfort,
Mm.
entering a new city, living in a new city, on your own as well, right? I mean, how's that changed you as a person?
Yeah, I think like a big part of my philosophy is always just to take lots of risks because I
Mm,
think they're the biggest kind of personality like developers in your
yeah.
life. Um, and I think definitely, yeah, like moving to a new city, it was always gonna change kind of like how you live your life. I think for me, it was great because I was living with my parents and it was kind of getting on that dynamic where just stepping on each other's toes. Whereas I come
Yeah.
to Amsterdam, I get my own kind of studio apartment here. So it's like nice having the space and like having also the mental space to be able to work
Yeah.
things out. You know, I can work when I'm most productive. There's no one else around me who I have to kind of cater to. And also there's no kind of feedback from my parents or from my friends and everyone who knows me kind of a little bit too well. Like when I
Mm.
go and do things, like when I do things, I have like my own back and I can kind of push forward with that with almost without telling people.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's nice. I think it's nice to have that kind of like you have a lot less resistance when you're living on your own, and especially in a completely new city, you get to it's like a fresh start. You know,
Mm.
you can shape yourself however you want to be, and it's really nice. I
That's
think
the
you'd really
thing.
appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, we're influenced so much by, first of all, our environment, sure, but also like people like our family, our friends, all these people. And the thing is, like,
Mm,
what's clearly been most beneficial for you is that you've been able to get out there, get in your own space, be your own person, and actually, live more authentically to your true core, to yourself, without the outside influences of external environment, family, friends, whatever. So, I
yeah,
mean, you're doing awesome things. To be fair, man. I mean, this is why I wanted to get you on the podcast because you're a cool guy. So I think that kind of maybe that's partly one of the reasons why you've achieved what you have done so far, and I think you've got a lot more to achieve in the future. It's going to be good. You mentioned at the start of the
yeah.
podcast that you like to do things differently. Why
Mm.
is that, do you think? Big question.
Yeah, good question. I don't know really. I mean, I'm like one of four siblings. I'm like the third child, so like I think independence was always something that like we pretty much had to do. Was like when we were raised, we had to get up and just kind of like we just go off and do our own thing.
Hmm.
So maybe partly that, but then I don't know. I'm very I don't know. Maybe the word would be like rebellious.
Mm.
I think now being 21, it's less that, but it is still that same essence of that someone tells me like what to do, and I go, I don't really agree with what you're saying. I'd rather do something my own way.
Mm.
And it does bite me in the ass sometimes because sometimes things take much longer than they needed to. But then I think it helps give me a lot of kind of unique insight into
Yeah.
things because my initial thought when someone tells me something or when someone asks me to do something, I have to, create something. It's okay, well, I want to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And I don't know. I think that gives like a fresh perspective on things.
Yeah.
So it helps me, but also it does hinder me sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. It's a I don't know if this is the right word, but it's a risky way to live your life, I suppose, because even though it does bite you in the arse sometimes, you also
Yeah.
get the rewards of the risk at the same time. So it goes either ways. And look, if you look at anyone who's been successful or is trying to make waves and that kind of thing, they're all
Mm,
rebels, right? They're all a little bit different. I think different's good. You have to be different in order
mm,
to push the boundaries of the new and well, push the boundaries at all, right? Because
yeah.
you can't step outside that boundary unless you're doing something different to what everyone else is doing, right? Because everyone's trying to stay comfortable, try and stay small and live
Yeah.
inside their
Yeah.
boundaries. But I think it's good to push your boundaries, man. So listen, you talk about a lot about productivity and stuff. How you talk about that on your TikTok, and all that sort of thing. Obviously, you live your life according to these or with these things in mind.
Mm.
Trying to develop yourself and get better. So where did that start for you?
Yeah, sure. So, so like I said before, I think definitely like the start of the pandemic, I started reading a lot more. Like I've always thought that I was like a knowledgeable person, but I think really reading a lot of books and watching a lot of videos,
Mm,
I felt like I don't know, like I had all this knowledge which I now like needed to use in the real world.
mm,
Um, and so I guess that's where it started for me. Like before that, I didn't feel like I had an awful lot of direction. But then as soon as I got into kind of business, entrepreneurship, and like self-improvement, it just something clicked and it shaped me a little bit more than like I'd been before. And I felt like I had a kind of more of a clear path to go
mm.
through in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
No, I get it, man. I get it, man. Sometimes you just sort of like find your thing, right? And Yeah,
Mm,
I relate to that a lot. You know, I started reading during the pandemic, or reading, you know,
mm.
better things during the
Yeah,
pandemic. Um, and yeah, like self-development just kind of clicked for me. And look, here I am now. I'm doing the podcast, and you know, this is kind of my
yeah.
thing, I guess, as well. You know, so what books was it that you started off with?
The first book I read, I think like properly read in like the last 2, 3 years at the start of the pandemic, was the E-Myth. It was about
The,
how to like, it's like how to build and structure your business. Have you heard of
oh,
it? The
okay. No, I
E-Myth.
haven't. I don't think I have. No.
And then after that, it was 4 Hour Work Week. And the
Yeah.
combination of them two books, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
like things are changing.
Yeah. Madness, man. Madness. So productivity, right? Let's focus on that for a second.
Mm.
What is productivity to you? Sum it up for us.
I mean, I guess it would probably be like it's the art of like getting as much done as possible in the most efficient way.
Mm,
Um, and like it's allowing you to do whatever you want to do because you're not restricted by time in the same
mm,
way that most people are. Like
mhm,
if someone is being productive, they have the time to, be with their friends, their family, etc. But they're also progressing their life, they're working, like they can fit all of these things in, and like the time is not being wasted.
mm.
You don't feel like the clock runs out every day.
Yeah.
Like that to me, that's like what ideal productivity is.
Yeah. Do you have you
Um,
have you have you kind of mastered that, do you think? Do you think you're sort of do you run out of time? Does the clock run out at the end of the day for you? Or, you know, how's that work for you?
mm, I think the clock always runs out for me. I think it's because it's like, okay, I figured out how to do this much quicker. And then it's, okay, on to the next thing. Let's fit something else in my day. Let's fit something
Mm,
else in my
yeah.
day. And yeah, so it is always like an ongoing challenge, but I do feel like I've definitely improved so much more than I had before. Like, I think in terms of things that I can get done, like probably one of the most uh, probably one of the most important lessons that I learned was that just because you're always busy doesn't mean that you're being productive.
Yeah.
I think I found myself used to filling my time a lot, and I like convincing myself that I was working hard when really I was just filling the time. Like an example as a student would be like if you're revising for something and you're spending all these times like making these like perfect notes for you to revise from,
Mm.
like you're not actually revising, you're just making things look pretty, which has absolutely no impact on your final grade whatsoever.
Yeah.
So for examples like that, like you have to actually be very critical about like what it is you need to get done and
Mm,
are you actually doing that.
mm.
um but yeah, things like that, like I think have changed me a lot, and I think I'm able to sit down and actually work several hours non-stop, whereas before like I have the attention span of like a fly. So definitely changed. I've definitely changed. I wouldn't say master, but I've definitely changed.
Yeah. How do you get better at productivity then? You know? Like what's the process to getting more stuff done in less time?
I mean, several things. I mean, you need to look at kind of the overall picture of like what it is you want to do.
Mm,
Like I'm trying to think a good example. Like again, if you're looking at university, you see that like a popular rule is like the 80-20 rule. So normally 80% of the work comes from just 20% of something that you need to do. So if you're looking at, say, a course at university, right? During the pandemic, all of the classes have been online. That's sucked for a lot of people, but in terms of time management, maybe that's been a bit better because it means that people don't have to go into class. They just have, block lectures. Some
mm,
people are like flexible enough, they can do it whatever time. Great. So it's like you've got these classes, right? And it's like, obviously, what is the end goal? It's like to get the grade at the end. But for me, at least, is to get the grade. So it's
mm,
like, how do I do, like, I start with these classes, but then get the best possible grade, but follow that path in as little time as possible. And so the way to that is that, like, for instance, you learn things that like sometimes that you don't have to listen to the whole thing, you have to see the whole thing. And whether that's a book or your class or whatever, like there are important parts and there are unimportant parts. And the key is you skip anything like anything you don't find useful, you just stop doing it
mhm,
and you move on until it becomes useful.
mhm.
Like I think that's how you start. And it's the same with a book. Like most of the information in the book you could probably get in the first 50% of the book. If
Mm.
after that the book seems like it's not giving you enough value, then just move on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that with well, most aspects of your working life, like you can apply that to. So it's just about seeing like what it is that you're doing normally, but like, is that really being an effective use of your time? Like you got to think critically about it.
Mm.
But yeah.
Do you live your life by like rules? Do you set rules for yourself? Because this is some stuff I do. Like an example would be I only ever drink alcohol on a Friday or Saturday night so that it
Mm,
doesn't affect my work or anything like that.
mm,
Another rule I have is say if a book is dragging or I'm taking too long to read it or I'm just not enjoying it, I just skip it because chances are I'm not getting
mm,
enough value out of it. It's wasting my time, right? Do
mm.
you live your life by rules like that at all? To try and like keep productive, keep focused, keep growing.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, I like unintentionally, I think it ends up being like that. Like the one
Mm,
you're saying about the book, like skipping on to the next one, like I definitely do that. And definitely in terms of, I think it's more like I feel like I've got to know myself a lot better in the past year,
mm,
especially like living alone for a whole year in like my own space. I can see very clearly like what I'm doing, what I'm not doing. And so like I know like if I'm not getting like 8 hours of sleep, like I don't have a rule that says, oh, you have to get this much sleep. But I know if I'm not getting 8 hours sleep, the next day, like I'm gonna be working at 50% capacity.
yeah.
And I know that like, if I had drink alcohol or something like the night before, again, like I've just wasted the whole next day.
Mm,
And like all of these different kind of rules have, I mean, I guess they've like come together in my head, but they're very subconscious. Like, for instance, like one of the ones for me is like always like it's like staying hydrated. And and like now it's got to the point where it's just I feel good when I drink like lots of
mm,
water. But I mean, the rule would just be to make sure you're hydrated. But I don't think about that, and like eating healthy, like I don't think about that. I just feel better, like my body functions better, and so I
mm.
I do it automatically.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
ingrained in you.
yeah, but it's definitely over time. I mean, it's just like, you see what works and what doesn't work. And then the things that work, you kind of make an effort to like turn them into a rule. And then
Yeah.
once they're there, like, it's a habit. Like I don't even notice anymore. You're just living your life and you don't realize that you're already following all of these different rules
Mm.
until maybe you move in with someone else and then you can see like,
Yeah.
like when I go back to visit my family, it's so weird to see the fact that I don't fit into that dynamic anymore because I've
Mm.
changed the way that I live.
Does that
Um,
impact you a little bit when you change environment like that? So like when you spend so much time mostly by yourself at your uni flat and
mm,
you set out these rules and these habits and stuff and you live your life by habit, by structure and such. When you go to a
mm.
different environment, does that change at all? Do you feel that maybe you can't keep up with the habits as easily as you did before, anything like that?
I 100%. I think
Mm,
the environment and the people that you're with is like dictates like 80-90% of that. Like
mm,
you may be an incredibly strong-willed person, but I'm not. Like I go home and it's the least productive environment for me.
mm,
I'm working at like a kitchen table, parents cooking dinner, little sisters around, dog, like etc. It's a completely different environment. And also there's like a certain click where when you're living alone, it's like there are things that you have to do because if you don't do them, no one will do them. You have
mm,
to cook yourself, you have to keep your space clean, like all of these things, like do your groceries. You have to do them because no one's going to do them.
mm,
Then when that shift goes to dependency, when you're in like a family scenario,
mm,
it's very different because you kind of take them things for granted. And it's almost like them small disciplines, like cleaning your own house and like doing your groceries and things, they keep you disciplined when you need to work. And then I kind of feel when I go back to my family home, I'm then like in a relaxed mode.
yeah.
I don't work very well at all. So yeah, I think the environment changes and it definitely depends. Like you're definitely a different person in different spaces and with different people. That's what I'd
Mm.
say.
Yeah, cool. That's good, man. That's good. And I mean, self-development, I mean, this is, it relates heavily to productivity. Arguably, it's the same thing in some ways. Um, but sort of self-development, what's been the biggest game changer for you in terms of self-development and growing as a person? Where have you seen the most change or development or growth?
Definitely, like I mean, like the three things for me is like one, learning more. So in terms of reading, like starting reading a year ago, absolutely like would be the number one thing that has like seen me completely transform.
Mm,
Number two would be the environment, like moving to Amsterdam, having my own space now. Again, a great transformation. And
mm,
then number three, it would be the people. Like you can't, I mean, I have a lot of friends in the UK in my hometown, but it's knowing that like you have people who are for fun and you have people who are
mm,
motivating and you have all these different people.
yeah.
And I think coming to Amsterdam, it's like again, it was just a fresh start and I could pick and choose my people much
Mm,
more specifically because you don't have childhood friends or school friends. It's, you know, a blank slate. And it's, if you don't want to hang out with someone, you don't need to hang out with someone. You just go back to your room. That's it.
yeah.
Like, so I definitely think choosing the right people who will actually like seem like make you more of a better person is like heavily important, you know. Like I don't know, like some friends in the past it would seem like I was dragging them along
Mm,
instead of like we were both running along side by side. And
mm,
so like that difference definitely helps. And it's
mm,
like I feel like I'm not crazy, you know, I'm not just sitting in my room doing these things while all my friends are out doing something else. Like getting that feedback, like that affirmation and that like, you know, like support, like
mm,
is nice, you know, it's
yeah.
so nice.
That's the thing. That's been a big one for me actually as well. And that's look, that's not to say that, you know, you just cut out all of your hometown friends and you're done or whatever. Like I love my schoolmates, like they're my boys still, and I'll still
Yeah.
go out drinking with them and all that sort of thing and have fun with them, go watch the football, you know, all those sorts of things. And I have a
Mm.
fun time. I love them. But at the same time, I know which of my mates are the ones which help me to motivate me. They bring me up, you know, instead of sort of, you know, it's funny that you mentioned sort of like that whole that dragging along analogy, because it is almost like that. You know, you want someone to you want to be able to bounce off of each other, and if you're not at the same level, it's difficult to get that sort of that bounce back. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
mean,
funny.
yeah, like think about two people running and you think like you go on a run together. If you're much fitter than the other person is, you're having to then slow your pace to then keep up with, to accommodate for this other person. But then you think if you are equally matched or the other person is even fitter than you are now like, in order to keep up with that person, you are now running even faster.
Mm,
So like you're getting a further distance, like with someone who is like more similar to you.
mm,
I think it's the same. I mean, like you've had like all these great people on the podcast before, so, and like I feel like you, the way you interact with them, like you know, is bringing you up in a way. Like you know, like the podcast is, you know, like a wonderful platform, but then you're also like you're getting so much out of it as well, like for your own
yeah.
personal growth.
Dude, this podcast has been like the greatest decision I've made in my life, man. Because first of all, I get to meet cool people. I get to like sit down with them for an hour or so, speak to them, get to know them. Like
Mhm.
you, I mean, we've spoken before, but you know, this has been a good conversation to get to know each other, get more familiar and stuff. And you know, these are people who could really help you. You can help them, and they can help you. You know, and you can bring each other up. And I don't know. It's just been such a good networking tool just to meet new people, get to know them
Yeah.
properly, you know, on almost like a friend basis, you know. And yeah, it's just been awesome because you know the easiest way to predict your future is by looking at your five closest friends, right? That's what they say. So
Exactly. Yeah.
you know who are you interacting with on a daily basis? Do they motivate you or are they, you know, dragging you down a little bit? Something to think
Yeah.
about, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So listen, let's move it on a little bit. Let's talk about TikTok because you know, you're a TikToker, as you know, self-proclaimed TikToker, as you said at the start of the podcast, and
Yeah.
you talk all about your productivity, self-help, and all that sort of thing. How many followers you got at the minute, mate? Was it?
Maybe between 31 and 32K, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So yeah, you've got a pretty decent sized audience, man, and you've grown that pretty successfully. For how long has it been since the start of the year, right?
yeah, like February time.
Yeah, yeah. So how have you managed that? You know, what's the key to all of that? Because I want to know
Oh,
this myself. I want to grow my page more, man.
yeah, I mean, like, honestly, it is still like unbelievable that that many people actually feel like, I don't know, like I'm providing them with something enough that they can
Mm,
actually still, like follow me on a regular basis. Like, and it's crazy, isn't it? Like, even saying, like, as a 21-year-old, like, I'm like a TikToker. like I make a living from TikTok is kind of, it's a weird phrase to say,
Yeah.
definitely. Especially like trying to explain that to someone. I'm not like dancing in front of the camera, you know, like doing all of these kind of TikTok dances. I'm just talking, like that's it.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I think it was like the reason I started TikTok was I just wanted somewhere where people like I could say things and people would listen.
mm,
And like, because I before I was just getting very frustrated that like I felt like I had a lot of stuff that like could help a lot of people, but I didn't feel like anyone was listening to it. And maybe that was because I was just telling like my friends and
mm,
my family, and it's just kind of like, yeah, 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 but like no one really cared. So I was just wanted an option to just push myself out there. And I guess TikTok was that option. And then when people actually started listening to me and like liking my videos, and then like, you know, one of them will get like 20K and I'll be like, what the fuck? Like 20,000 people have seen this video.
mm,
Like that's mad. And then like it's like a spiral, and then it's just like, okay, I'm gonna post more, I'm gonna post more, I'm gonna post more. And honestly, like I don't think I will ever run out of things to say, because I'm always reading and learning new things. And just every time
mm,
I learn something, I'm like, okay, I gotta like tell everybody on TikTok, like I've got to show this to other people. Like I find that so rewarding. So I like helping people, and I guess people like being helped, and I'm glad that they find my stuff useful. So it's just that dynamic is just kind of, you know, it's like ricochet and spirals and spirals and spirals. And so I'm glad that I'm doing it, and
mm.
I'm glad that people are liking it. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know how it happened, but I'm glad that it happened. Like I'm so grateful.
Nah, man, you post good stuff, you know. So it's every time I see you pop up on my feed, it's always a really good nugget of like information or you know just helpful stuff. You know, it's good to have. That's why so many people follow you, man. So what's sort of like the process that you go through when you're making a TikTok? Is it, you know, you say you read something and then you know, do you write that down, script it? Do you just do it on the fly? How's that work?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, I think the way I normally do it is that I try and stay consistent with making them. So I try and like make them either every day or every other day, because I used to kind of block them out and just do like 10 at once. But then I realized I then have this big gap where I wouldn't be doing anything on TikTok. And then I feel like I lose kind of like that fluency, that
Mm,
ability to do it. Whereas if I do it daily, it's like, okay, I pick up where I left before. Like you know, I'm getting better, I'm getting better, I'm getting better. And so the process is mainly like I come up with an idea wherever that is. Like I think 50% of my ideas come from the shower. I literally have a blackboard in my shower to write down
really?
just
Yeah.
any random ideas that I'm thinking of. When I come up with an idea, I write it down on my phone. And then when it comes to the morning of the next day, when I'm making my TikToks, I'll go, right, okay, I've got this idea, say it, I'll probably record it and then go, okay, I can probably say the same thing, but like much more efficient. So then like re-record it, put a few captions, post it, that's it. I try and keep them as short and sweet as possible, because like I'm not trying to drag things out. And I feel like if you always leave them wanting a bit more, then they're more likely to stay around as well.
Mm.
But yeah, that's it. I mean, that's my process.
Yeah. And I mean, what would be your advice for someone who's, you know, looking to grow a TikTok page? Say myself. I mean, I'm asking this question purely for myself as well as the listeners. What would your advice be for someone who's looking to grow their own page and start to build an audience?
I mean, honestly, consistency, like,
Mm,
well, consistency and value. You have to be posting very regularly. You know, it probably took me like 50 videos to get my first like 100 or few hundred followers, right? But if them 50 videos are like 5, 10 seconds long and I'm posting like 3 videos a day, that doesn't take very long at all for me to get
mm,
that. That's like what, 2.5 weeks for me to get a few hundred followers. And then the second thing is value. Like I've seen people who have posted like a million TikToks, but they're just posting like these kind of like copycat dance ones
mm,
or whatever. Like you have to be providing value to someone. And like, yeah, sure. Like if you're a dancer, that value is entertainment. But it's like, if you then copy a dance that someone else has made, like what value are you bringing to that dance? Like they could just watch the original one.
mm,
And like it's the same thing, like, you know, I feel like I'm giving people content that is valuable, and like people are liking that. So it's kind of, yeah, you gotta provide a lot of content, and that content has actually got to be useful. They can't just be crap. basically,
Yeah.
because like people are not gonna like it. And if you do them two things and you just keep like doing these two things, like eventually you're just waiting for one video to kick off. Because like the whole beauty of TikTok is it's not like Instagram or like YouTube or anything like that. Like it doesn't matter if I have 1 million followers or 0 followers. If my video is good, it will get the views, like full
Mm,
stop. Like that's it, you know? You see these accounts, like some of them, they got like 400K like views on their first video. That's just because the video was amazing. So
mm,
it's like, and that's really good to hear, especially as a creator, because you know that like you're not going to get overshadowed. Like
mm,
you will get, if the video is good, you'll get recognized straight away. Um, and I think that's what brought like sponsors to me as well in the first place, is because it's like, yeah, okay, sure, I've only got like 20,000, 30,000 followers. I don't have like this big audience of like 200,000. But if I can get a video to go viral with 400,000 views, 1 million views, then like I have the same power that someone who with 100,000 followers has,
mm.
even though I don't have that many followers. So yeah, it's a really nice dynamic, but stay consistent and actually make use something that's useful and people like to see.
Yeah. Awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff, man. So TikTok, I mean, you're making a living from TikTok, right? So is this sort of like your plan moving forward? Are you now a content creator? Do you consider yourself that? I mean, what are the plans for the future for you?
I mean, I definitely have my goals of TikTok. I'm very lucky because the timing was that I quit this marketing job that I was not a big fan of at the time, and then that was also at the point where I hit 10,000 followers on TikTok, and where people actually started reaching out to me. So like, I was very fortunate that kind of money, very slowly, but it slowly started to trickle in from
Mm,
TikTok. Um, yeah, I mean, like I'm gonna keep doing this as long as possible because it's to me, it's just a platform where I can speak my mind, and I like that people are listening. So if I can keep making money from that, great. Like I don't think TikTok will ever be a full-time career for me because at the end of the day, like making a bunch of short 10-second videos for the rest of my life, like I don't think anyone would find that fulfilling for the rest of their life.
mm,
But as one of the things that I'm going into, like, yeah, definitely. I think I'm gonna keep it up and like, hopefully I get bigger and bigger. Like, honestly, if you get to 100,000 followers, that's the point where you can go, okay, like I'm making comfortable money. Like I don't have to worry about like the next paycheck or whatever.
mm,
So, I mean, that would be a good goal for me. And also it's allowing me to do things which I wouldn't be able to do financially because I didn't have the financial freedom.
mm.
Before it was like, okay, I was working part-time, like 20 hours a week in marketing just to make the same money which I'm now making in like, like 2 hours a week. So like now I have so much more time to focus on things and like jump into things that I go like, oh, before like I didn't have the money, I needed the financial security. Now I don't need that. So yeah, I'll keep it up because it's allowing me to pursue other dreams.
Yeah. What are those other dreams then? What's can you reveal what's on the radar for you at all, or what's going on in your head right now? What's the future hold for you?
Oh, the future. I think I'm in the process of applying to take a semester off university actually.
Mm,
Um, because like I really appreciate like the environment that I'm in and I think that's like golden for what I need to achieve. But I think the actual courses that I'm taking, I think there's better things that I can be doing. So I mean, the plan would be that I spend more time on TikTok and other ventures, and that I probably won't come back to university. Um, that's definitely on the horizon. I'm in the process with 3 other founders of building a behavioral science company where we basically do perception management. It's really interesting stuff, really complicated kind of psychological stuff. And they've chosen me to kind of be the key decision maker in that. And that was like, for me, is mind blowing
mm.
because they're some really talented people and they're not just 21-year-olds like me. These are like 30-year-olds with real jobs.
Yeah.
um, so between taking some time off university, doing my TikTok, and kind of helping develop this company, like at the minute, that's the full package.
Mhm,
And I think I needed that because before, like my head is just all over the place. Like
mhm.
you get to a point you realize if you want to do things well, you have to stick to a few things.
Yeah.
And before I was just skimming the surface too much. So I'm sticking to things now.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Sounds awesome. That's really cool. Listen, we're running out of time, so I'm just going to move the podcast on a little bit, but maybe we'll have to get you back on to speak a little bit more in depth about
Sure.
the new behavioral science stuff that you're doing, because it sounds cool. But listen, what would be your key piece of advice for young people, for all the young people that listen to this podcast right now? Let's say it's you a few years ago, before you got started with all this stuff, before you got started on this journey. What would be your key piece of advice for them?
Key piece of advice. It would probably be three things, but I'll say them quickly. One, listen less to your parents and your friends and family. Wait, I'll do that again.
Mm-hmm.
One, listen less to your friends and family and more to experts and people who are actually where you want to be. Because, like, for instance, I found with myself, like, my friends and family, like, financially, they're not where I want to be. In terms of career and like freedom, they're not where I want to be. So start looking towards the people who you actually aspire to be like, and do the things that they're doing, not the things that everyone else is doing. Two, start reading. Like, changed my mind. If you don't like reading, listen to audiobooks, watch like book summaries on YouTube. So much knowledge. It's like someone's putting 30 years of their life, of their expertise, into like 300 pages.
Yeah.
And you can just gobble that up. So do that. And three, like, just take some risks, like, if you want to do something extraordinary in your life and you want to, like, if you don't want to be like everyone else, you're going to have to take a risk that no one else is taking. And a lot of them are going to fail and you're going to fuck up a lot. But in the end, like, you only need one to go right for it to change your life completely. Like, that one was TikTok for me. It's changed my life. So, like, just, you know what I mean? You're young, like, you use so much time, just like fuck up and then take risks. I don't know, man.
Damn, man. No, that was powerful, man. I mean, you really, speaking to me there as well. I felt that. So, yeah, awesome bits of advice, man. To wrap it up now, I've got the final question of the podcast. It's a super subjective, super cliche question, but it's always a lot of fun to ask everyone. Listen, Lawrence, what's your meaning of life?
What's my meaning of life? To make a difference, man. Like, honestly, like, I love helping people. If I could say that I've changed the world in some small way, I would be super fulfilled. Like, I don't think I could get away with just being happy. Like, I would want to be changing something. Like, that would make me happy. That would make me fulfilled.
Do you know what impact it is you want to leave just yet, or are you trying to figure that out still?
I'm trying to figure that out. That's a journey, right, for everybody.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out one day, but like, I'm just trying, and it's the best I can do right now. Just try. Same with everyone.
100%. Awesome, man. No, that's been great. It's been such a good episode. So good to speak to you again, and just have a really cool conversation about the stuff that you're doing, because it is awesome. Where can we find you online in terms of like social media? What's your where can we find you online?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, mainly just go on my TikTok. It's Lawrence_. You can follow me there. If you need to contact me, I have my email address on there. If you really want to connect, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's basically it. TikTok is where I'm at. I'm focusing on that one thing. So find me there.
Awesome stuff, man. Yeah, and for all the listeners, yeah, you should definitely check him out, because personally, myself, I'm a fan of the stuff you're putting out. So there's my there's my testimonial for you, I suppose. There you go. But listen, Lawrence, such a good episode, man. So good to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it. So awesome. Cheers, man.
Good stuff, man. Cheers. So there you go. That's the end of the show. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe on your podcasting app of choice so you can download and listen as each episode is released. If this episode helped you in any way, tell your friends, tell your family, maybe even leave a cheeky review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the show. But that's all for now. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode, released shortly. Take care.